What up? Welcome to a new deck list. This deck list is actually not focused on the commander, it's focused on Lurrus, the companion. This card, Giga Broken, got banned in I think Modern? I might be wrong with that, I'm not sure. Is a companion, and that means it's just in your side deck, kind of. You can pay 3 to add it to your hand at any point. Its requirement is each permanent card in your starting deck has to have mana value 2 or less. And then once during each of your turns, you may cast a permanent spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard. The second half, the lifelink in that is just on a creature body, and the companion is the requirement. So yeah, every permanent in this deck is CMC 2 or less. So you can see, sorted by mana value, my artifacts, my enchantments, and my creatures. So yeah, who do I pick for the commander? It's Ezio. Why is it Ezio? Because I have 5 colors to play as many good 2 or lower CMC permanents as possible. Looking at Lurrus decks in the past, or that people were already playing, a lot of them seem to be just black white aristocrat, which I think is really really good because you can cast this card from your graveyard every turn. But I didn't really want to do aristocrats. I wanted to do something a little different, and yeah, I realized I was going through like just a trade binder at my LGS. I'm like, oh wait, Ezio actually fits this because it was really hard to find commanders on Scryfall specifically that were like, oh yeah, it has to be at least black and white and 2 CMC, but it can be as much as you want. I'm not sure how to do that, and it wasn't really helping. Either way, yeah, it's Ezio. What is Ezio? He's a 2 mana 3/2 with menace, crazy stat, and assassin spells you cast have free running too. Free running is when you deal damage to a player, combat damage. Yeah, they have a new casting cost. And then whenever Ezio deals combat damage to a player, you may pay Wooburg if that player has 10 or less life. When you do, that player loses the game. This can happen. It's very unlikely. I've played against Ezio decks in the past. I don't think I've ever seen them win through this effect. It's more like Royal Assassin, but that's a whole other deck. This is kind of just like equipment with the new Final Fantasy cards and Assassin's Creed cards. Because, yeah, I looked at that, I'm like, okay, assassins, they're probably pretty cheap. Turns out there aren't that many 2 mana or less assassins, but the ones that there are all seemed pretty good. And then obviously, we have like Cloud Strafe, right, from the new set, which is an equipment tutor. It's CMC 2 or less. It's also crazy expensive, holy moly. But yeah, so going through the deck, going through artifacts, a lot of these are equipment. I found I didn't actually want to put too much equipment in the deck, or else it's just not that great because people aren't typically removing equipment, they're removing the creatures the equipment are attached to. Bloodforged Battle Axe, +2/+0, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, you make a token that's a Bloodforged Battle Axe. This can get up really quickly. I mean, you equip 2, you make 2 more, etc. Soul Ring is a ramp, Arcane Signet, Chainsaw. This is a really good utility artifact. When it enters, it deals 3 to a target, and then when a target dies, or when a creature dies, you put a rev counter. Equipped creature gets +X+0, where X is the amount of rev counters. So this is tutorable in the deck with cards like Cloud. If not, it's kind of a bolt in the hand that's also an artifact, and that gives you value. Conqueror's Veil, 2 mana, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents. You're playing Wooburg. I have quite a few permanents. The mana curve is not actually, or the color like chart isn't actually that great. I think I'm missing a lot of blue and green. But yeah, either way, +1/+1 for each color among permanents, and then as long as the equipment is attached to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which is a really nice effect. Obviously, you could play like a few other cards for that effect. Voice Victory is the one that comes to mind right away, and then Grand Abolisher, but also both CMC too, so they're playable in the deck. I just didn't add them. Fellwar Stone is a ramp. Hidden Blade, it got enters, you attach it to a creature. If it's an assassin, the creature gets Death Touch, and then equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has First Strike. It's just a good stat line. Hook Blade, it enters attached to a creature, +1/+0, and if it's your turn, it has Fly, which is nice for a little bit of evasion when attacking. Enters, you equip it to a creature. The creature deals damage to another creature you don't control, equal to its power, which is cool. It's kind of like removal. It's not fighting, so it doesn't put your creature at harm. And then equipped creature has reach and ward 2. Lightning Greaves is kind of just protection. It's also an equipment. Mask of Memories, card advantage. When equipped creature deals damage, draw 2, discard 1. Power Fist, when equipped creature has Or it has trample, and then when it does damage, you put that many 1/1 counters on it. This can very easily just grow your commander if you play it out early with Ezio on board, because it's hard to block a 3/2 with Menace. Swiftfoot Boots are Swiftfoot Boots. Trailblazer Boots are more just evasion when attacking. And Wing Boots, Ward 4 flying. This card's really, really good. Big fan of this card. On the creatures, Cecil, Dark Knight. He's a 1 mana 2/3. Whenever he deals damage, you lose that much life. Then if your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, you untap him, transform him. He's just a 4/4 with lifelink, and when he attacks, other attacking creatures are flying. So you give him like a Trailblazer Boots or something, you flip him, and then whenever he attacks, everything has indestructible. Very nice for a little bit of aggro strategy. Also just a 4/4 with lifelink. If not, it's still a 2/3 for 1, which is great value. Frey Crescent, during your turn, it has flying, and then you can add a red for an equipment. We're running a lot of equipment. This is a good card. Rabbit Battery is an equipment, but also a creature, which is cool. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste if you reconfigure it. If not, it's also just a 1/1 with haste. Zac Fair, this card, very, very good. I'm like super high on this card. I'm surprised it's so cheap. I guess because it's an uncommon. It enters with a 1/1 counter. You can pay 1, sack Zac Fair, and then give a creature all the counters Zac Fair has, and equip a equipment that is attached to Zac Fair to that creature. So if you play him, equip an equipment, they're going to kill something else, you can sacrifice Zac Fair, equip Zac Fair's equipment to the other creature, and give it indestructible and a 1/1 counter, all for 1 mana. Very good card. Ambrosia Whiteheart, when it enters, you can bounce another permanent to your hand. It has flash, obviously, and then landfall gets +1/+0 until end turn. Not super important. I think that's just like the Chocobo aspect of the card. But yeah, this is just protection. It's a flash to bounce a creature from like a board wiper removal. Basim Ibn Ishak, 2 mana 2/2. Whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card, and then he can't be blocked for the turn. Only triggers once a turn, so you're not drawing infinite cards. Pseudo infinite, you could probably make it work. And then whenever he deals damage to a player, you put a 1/1 counter on him. He's going to grow over time. He's going to be hard to block with all the legendary creatures and artifacts you're playing, which are both counted as historic cards. Sid, Free Flyer Pilot. Equipment and vehicles you cast cost 1 less. He has flying on your turn, and then you can pay to return artifact or vehicle card from your graveyard to your hand. A little bit of recursion, extra recursion in the deck. Cloud Midgar Mercenary, when he enters, search your library for an equipment, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. And then as long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. There are quite a few good ones. I mean, the first ones that come to mind, Power Fist, you get double 1/1 counters, Mask of Memory, you draw 4, discard 2. That's just off the top of my mind. Hunter's Bow would work because it would equip itself, and then Cloud would know that he's equipped, so it would double trigger the Hunter's Bow. But yeah, that's just a few of them. Dark Confidant, at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal top card, lose life equals its mana value, draw that card, or add it to hand so it's not a draw. This is just card advantage. Desmond Miles, 2 mana 1/3 menace, gets +1/+0 for each other assassin you control and each assassin in your graveyard. We're playing enough assassins for this to be fine. And then whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you surveil X, where X is the amount of damage it dealt to that player. So you can grow them, you can put a bunch of cards in your graveyard for some future cards, mainly sorceries that we'll talk about. Evie Fry, partner with Jacob Fry, that's irrelevant. Pay 1, tap them, draw a card, discard a card. When you discard a creature card, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. It's a little bit of invasion. You can put creatures in your graveyard. You'll be able to bring them back later with Lurrus or with other cards. And yeah, it just kind of fits 2 CMC, which is a recurring theme in the deck. Garland, Knight of Cornelia, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil 1. And then you can pay 7 to return them flipped from the grave. He's just a 5/5 flying. That part's kind of whatever. I do like it for the surveil though, because of all the artifacts are going to trigger it, as well as all the instants and sorceries. It's not uncommon to see that trigger a few times when he's on board. 2 mana 1/1 Giot. Whenever he or another dwarf you control enters, it's only Giot. And whenever an equipment you control enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's just kind of like cycling to get cards that you need. Lion Sash, 2 mana 1/1. You can pay a white. You can exile a creature from a graveyard. Exile a card from a graveyard. If it was permanent, you put a 1/1 on Lion Sash, and then it gets +1/+1 for each 1/1 counter on Lion Sash. That's the configured creature. Yeah, it's similar to the bunny. Same as Lizard Blades. Equipped creature has double strike. It also just has double strike. It's kind of an equipment. It'll trigger your equipment triggers. It won't trigger your non-artifact triggers, unfortunately, but yeah. Professor Hojo, 2-mana 2/2. The first activate ability you activate during your turn that targets a creature you control costs 2 less. Notably, this is just equipment costs. And then whenever one or more creature you control becomes a target of an activate ability, draw a card. Again, an equipment targeting a creature you control is an activated ability, so this is just card draw every turn. Unfortunately, it only triggers once a turn. If not, it would be really broken, because you could just keep moving equipment around to different creatures and then draw infinitely. Pure Steel Paladin, 2-mana 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield, you may draw a card, and then equipment you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. Pretty easy to get the Metalcraft trigger, and it's just card advantage. Rauban, Bull of Alamigo. Ward, pay life equal to his power, and then whenever he attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target attacking creature. This can buff him, this can buff something else. Unfortunately, it's an attack step and not after blockers, so you can't do any like battle shenanigans with adjusting toughnesses, but yeah. Reno and Rude, Menace, and whenever they deal combat damage to a player, exile top card of that player's library. You can sack a creature or artifact. If you do, you may play the exiled card. Any mana of any type can be spent to cast it. You're running a lot of weenies, you're running a lot of equipment that you don't really care about losing. You'd probably just prefer to sack a creature for Lurrus or one of your reanimates. But yeah, this is a good card, because it lets you play bigger cards than 2 CMC. Shay Cormac, 2-mana 1/1. You can pay 1 to have permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof, indestructible, protection, shroud, and ward. And then whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes target of a spell or an ability, put a bounty counter on that creature, and whenever a creature with a bounty counter on it dies, put 2 1/1s on Shay. It's mainly in here for the 1 to destroy or get rid of protection. It's kind of like a Shadow Spear in that sense, except it's a creature, because we are running a decent bit of removal. Saram, Senior Artificer, whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle, draw a card. This is just card advantage. Summon Brynhilder, you exile top card of your library. During any turn you put a lore counter on the saga, you may play that card. And then 2 and 3, when you cast a creature spell this turn, it gains haste. It's a nice little aggro piece. It's technically card advantage, it finds 1 card, and then the next 2 turns. Actually, I guess even during the first turn you can just play it, and it'll come out with haste on the 2 and 3. And then you can bring it back with Lurrus if you want to. Wandering Minstrel. This card actually has no synergy in the deck. I just put it in because it says your lands enter untapped. And when you're running like every triome in the game, every cheap triome in the game, you could put in the expensive ones. Yeah, them all coming in untapped is a really nice quality of life thing. You're not running enough towns to get the 2/2 elemental every turn. Although maybe that's a land-based choice that you could actively make and decide to put in more towns. And then you can pay 3 in Wooburg. Other creatures get +X/+X for X number of towns. Again, irrelevant, but if you wanted to put in a lot of the towns, I do have a Wandering Minstrel list that I don't think I've uploaded, but that is just kind of focused on like towns and gates. You could put in a lot of towns in this deck and probably replace other lands. I just got lazy with the land base. I'm like, every triome, every soul land, that will be enough with basics. Torgal, 2-mana 2/2. He's a mana dork, and whenever you cast your first human creature spell each turn, that creature enters with an additional 1 counter on it for each dog and or wolf you control. Not running any other dogs and or wolves, but most of your creatures are humans, so this is just a mana dork that'll put a 1/1 counter on a creature. On the enchantments, Reconnaissance. This card's really, really good. Pay 0, remove target attacking creature you control from combat and untap it. I don't know if I've said this before, but this works after you deal combat damage because your creature's still in combat. So it essentially gives every creature vigilance. If not, you can full swing and then remove the blockers because all your creatures are kind of weenies. Cover of Darkness. When it enters, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type have fear, which means they can't be blocked by artifacts and or black creatures. This is just nice for evasion and getting swings in. Because yeah, fear, pretty good mechanic. Vraska joins up, 2 mana. When it enters, put a death touch counter on each creature you control. And whenever a legendary creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's mainly in here for a legendary creature dealing combat damage to draw a card. The death touch counters are nice because opponents obviously won't want to block dorks with death touch on them, and they'd rather take like 2 and you get a draw out of it. So yeah, the draw on this card pretty good. I guess yeah, instants are next. A lot of removal, dispatch, metalcraft, exile target creature or tap it. Path is an exile, revitalizing repass, 2 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, gains indestructible until end of turn. You can also play it as an MBFC, might as well play this, it's good protection. Swords is exile, Assassin's Trophy, hits any permanent, which is nice. Boros Charm is permanent protection for you, or you could burn a player who's at 4. You can also give a creature double strike. It's a good utility card. Counterspell, protection, Dovin's Veto, protection, heroic intervention, permanent protection. I think this card very, very good. You could play like Flawless Maneuver. I'm pretty sure it's just free if you have a commander. It might only hit creatures though, I'm not sure. Bant Charm, you can destroy an artifact, put a creature on the bottom of its owner's library, which is really cool. It's not like destruction, it's almost like Chaos Warp but better. Or counter target instant spell. This is a really, really versatile charm. It's probably one of the better ones I've seen. Beast Within and Generous Gift are just permanent removal. Corrosive Grip, split second, destroy artifact or enchantment. It's nice having split second on some removal. Void Rend, destroy target non-land permanent, also can't be countered. Yeah, a lot of removal in my instance. That's pretty much what they all want to. Removal and protection. Onto the sorceries. A very common theme here is just recursion. There's a lot of very interesting recursion cards, mainly in black and white, that specifically hit small cards like 1 mana, return target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Fun fact, this hits every creature in our deck. That's awesome. Damage in here, it's just a super good board wipe. I think you just auto put this in any deck that can run black and white. It's also super cheap, which is awesome. Lively Dirge, 2 mana, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard and shuffle for 1, and then for 2 you can return up to 2 target creature cards with total mana value 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can do this for 4, you can do it for 5 to also get a little tutor going. Either way, works pretty well. Resentful Revelation, look at the top 3, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. This sets up your graveyard for your reanimation effects. I'm really, really high on this card. I like this card a lot right now. Back for seconds, you can bargain it, so sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. Thankfully, all your equipments are artifacts, so that works pretty easily for you. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. If the spell is bargain, you may put 1 of those cards with mana value 4 or less on the battlefield instead of putting it into your hand. So it's bring 1 back to hand, put 1 on the board, all for like 3 mana and the cost of a equipment that you might not care about, or like a mana rock that you've curved out of. Dewdrop Cure, 2 mana, you can gift a card, return up to 2 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If the gift was promised, instead return 3 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less. This hits everything besides Lurrus in the deck. 3 mana, return, play out 6 mana value worth of cards is very, very good. Savine's Reclamation, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can also flashback it for 5, and if it was cast from the graveyard, you may copy this spell and may choose a new target for the copy, so it hits 2 things. Raise the Past, return all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is one of the big hitters in the deck. Every creature is mana value 2 or less, so this brings back every creature in your deck. And then Command the Dread Horde, choose any number of target creatures and or planeswalker cards in your graveyard, or in graveyards period, so your opponents can as well. Command the Dread Horde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them onto the battlefield under your control. If you just bring back a bunch of your own pieces, this won't deal much to you. You can also steal a big card from an opponent's graveyard. Pretty versatile. Onto the lands. I'm running 34 or 35 with an MDFC. There's not really anything that crazy. Academy Ruins and Buried Ruins are both in here as artifact recursion for your stronger equipments. Ishgard, the Holy Sea, has 5 mana to return up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. A little bit of artifact recursion. That's a land. And then like the World Tree, which can let your lands tap for any color, as long as you have 6 or more lands. And then you can pay double Wurborg, sack it, search your library for any number of god cards, which is irrelevant. Yeah, it's kind of just in here is like a, almost like a Chromatic Lantern, but Chromatic Lantern's 3 mana value, so we can't play it on the deck, which sucks. But yeah, that's the deck. The maybe board is just filled with random stuff. I was trying it before. Like just generic good cards, Ruinous Ultimatum, Haunting Voyage, Graceful Restoration. These 2 are just too expensive for recursion. Patch Up, return 3 target creature cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Total mana value is kind of awkward because they're not running that many ones. This is again total mana value, just some removal. I took out a lot of the tutors for equipment. You could obviously put them back in. Stoneforge Mystic, Open the Armory, where is it? Fighter Class, Enlightened Tutor. Sigard's Aid, good in the deck, but I think it's a little unnecessary with how low your curve is. Silk Guard is nice if you're running more auras and equipment because it protects all your modified creatures or with hexproof. This is just really, really good. Protection, Training Grounds is good if you're playing more artifacts or equipment. This can equip a creature at instant speed and give them +2/+2, which is a nice combat trick, but again, I don't think it's that good in the deck. Yeah, originally this deck had like 140 cards. Red Mage's Rapier, kind of good, but it's kind of whatever. You could play a lot of the job select cards if you wanted to. I think Monk's Fist is another one that came up. Mask of Riddles, you may draw a card whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, and they have Fear. I think this is probably one of the better ones I cut, but I don't know what I'd swap it in for. Judge, Magister of Gabarinth. This just grows whenever a creature you control dies. This is just a 2-mana card. This card is kind of whatever. Hexgold Halberd for Strike Trample is alright. Golbez, whenever an artifact enters you surveil. Just not running enough artifacts for that to work. Or artifact generators. Assassin Initiate. Yeah, there's a lot of really just like random cards that I was trying out. Rayav is probably one of the better ones that I cut as well. Equipped creatures have double strike. It's really good for swinging. Night's Whisper is just like card draw. Item Shopkeeper gives attacking creature menace if they're equipped. Yeah, it's kind of just a bunch of whatever cards. Obviously there are some expensive cards you can add. I think if I go to the EDH Rex, we're not going to see anything useful here. All these cards are illegal. Not Brotherhood Headquarters, but most of these cards are illegal for the deck. So that is unfortunate. You can't really use that. You could play Ramp, but like I don't see a point in running a Ramp in the deck. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back next week. Boom, not a Final Fantasy Commander deck. Probably, it might be one next week actually. I don't know. I'm working on an Esper deck right now, but we'll see. Bye-bye.